Hi folks, welcome back to Hiking Adventures. I'm your host, Jesse Allain, and in today's episode, we'll be talking about first aid out on the trail. The first step to having a safe trip when you're hiking is to know what to do in the event of an accident. You must have a first aid kit with all the necessary supplies and be armed with knowledge about what to do in the event that something could go wrong. To prevent injuries out on the trail, it's important that you stretch before embarking on your hike. I'll show you 2 different stretches that will help loosen the muscles so you can avoid cramps, burning, or other types of pain while you're hiking. The first involves stretching your muscles using your foot up against a tree. I'll demonstrate this for you on this solid tree right here. Put each foot up against the tree with your leg at a 45-degree angle, and then begin to move forward with your knee until you feel a light burning sensation in the calf muscle. Don't push it too far, because this could cause an injury in itself. But relax, think about your breathing, take slow breaths, and hold this for about 30 seconds, then slowly come out of the stretch like that. Do this with each leg to make sure that you can avoid cramps and other types of injuries on the trail. The next stretch involves putting both legs together like this and bending down at the waist. Make sure to bend slowly without bouncing, as bouncing can tear the muscle. You'll feel a burning slight pain in the back of the legs, all the way up to the back of the knee and the thighs. And do the same thing. Think about slow breathing and hold it for about 30 seconds. And when you're done, come up slowly and your muscles should be loosened up. In your basic first aid kit, you should have several items. First, make sure you have several adhesive bandages for sticking on the area of a wound. Make sure you have antiseptic for cleaning out wounds. You'll want to have several gauze pads and some adhesive tape for putting on wounds. Also, latex gloves to avoid contact with anyone else's blood or bodily fluids. Scissors for cutting the tape, and a bag to carry it all in. Make sure that before you leave on any hiking trip, you pack your first aid kit along with all the other necessary supplies. One of the most common injuries a hiker faces out on the trail is a sprained ankle. Sprained ankles occur when you bend your foot so far that it sprains the tendons and ligaments. It's important that you know how to treat a sprained ankle in the event that you run into a situation where you'll need to keep walking even after your ankle is sprained. One of the best things to remember is do not remove your shoe if you need to keep walking. Swollen ankles will often swell to the point where you can't get your shoe back on if you do take off your shoe. Now, let's take a look at how to bandage the shoe and the ankle to make sure that you could keep walking if you have to. Here we have a discarded t-shirt that I've cut to make longer. What I'll do is I'll put the bottom around the bottom of my shoe, bring these 2 sides around the front, bring them back around the back with pretty firm pressure on the rag, and you tie in the front. Make sure that you don't have a lot of extra hanging out so you don't trip over it. And then, when you need to keep walking, this will add extra support so that your ankle doesn't bend. At the end of the hike, you can take your shoe off, but keep your foot and leg elevated and use cold compresses or bandages to reduce the swelling. Anytime you'll be going on a hike where you'll have varying terrain, it's important to make sure that your pack is secured in the right manner. Make sure that you have the belt strap fastened, and if there is an upper body strap, tighten that too, but not so tight that you'll lose circulation or get circulation cut off. Also, make sure that the pack has the weight distributed evenly throughout so that you don't injure your back when you're climbing or twisting, trying to get around branches. This is very important on extended hikes with varying up and down terrain. If you happen to arrive upon the scene of an accident on your hike, there are several things to remember. First, remain calm. If you can stay positive and remain calm, it can help the victim be more comfortable and help the overall morale of the entire group. If you or someone else you know are trained in the methods of CPR or first aid, you may be called to take action. It's very important, though, that you call or send someone for professional medical help. This could help save a victim's life. Also remember that it's good to keep the victim comfortable as they're waiting for help to arrive. Also, try to make sure that you stay out of the way if professional medical help arrives and they don't need your help. But it is good to offer your assistance if it is needed. If you are not trained in the ways of CPR or first aid, you may want to consult your local emergency services, fire, police, EMS, or your local educational institution, as they have opportunities for you to become certified. As we start hiking in the colder months, it's important to make sure that in adverse weather, or as it gets very cold, you stay out of open spaces. This is important, especially when you're going to take a rest, or just stop to eat, or take a drink, that you don't stay in the widest open spaces. It's best to move into light cover like this, so you'll be more out of the elements, and you won't get cold or wet in the chance of rain. Here we have some more cover. This would be a better choice for a place to stop and take a rest. As you can see, we still have some sun, but we're mostly protected from the wind. As you can see, the leaves aren't really moving too much in here, and that's a good indicator that you're out of the elements. This would be another good spot to take a rest, somewhere where you could maybe hang your backpack and stop and take a drink of water, maybe have a snack too. Be careful though when you're going off the trail. Branches can come out and you can get poked in the eye. And you could also run into some treacherous terrain, things you might trip over, tree roots, rocks. Also, as the months get colder, don't forget there are still animals and certain insects that live out in the woods. Earlier today we ran into some ground bees, and that was an unpleasant surprise. Stay on the trail when you're hiking. If you do happen to go off the trail, you may run into areas with thicker cover, more brush, and possibly more dangerous terrain. Remember, most injuries on the trail could be prevented, and this is the best way to avoid an injury. Now I'll demonstrate the proper way to put on your hiking pack. First, make sure that the shoulder straps are adjusted to put the backpack on at a good enough angle where you'll be comfortable walking. Make sure this part of the backpack isn't too low, but also make sure it isn't so high that you feel like you're hunched over. Next, most good hiking backpacks will have a waist strap around the belt line. Have this tight enough so that it doesn't feel like the backpack will wiggle off, but at the same time loose enough so that you can get your hands inside. Also, if your backpack has an upper body strap, secure this and be careful how tight you go. You don't want to go so tight that it feels like it's putting pressure on this part of your chest, or if you're losing circulation in your arms, then you know you've definitely got it on too tight. Wearing your backpack in this way will make sure you can have a long, safe hike with minimal amount of stress to your back, arms, and legs. When you're choosing a place to rest after a hike, make sure to be aware of where the water levels are around you. Here, we find that there are rocks and sand at the bottom of a valley. This is a good indicator telling us that we're at the lowest point of an area. You can see here that the sand and rocks carve a path out in the forest floor, kind of pooling up here and then going down even more so to this lower spot. Remember, especially when camping for the night, be aware that you're not at the lowest possible point. Well, folks, looks like we've reached the end of today's hiking adventure. We've hoped that you've learned some valuable tips on how to be prepared for first aid on the trail. Remember, prevention and preparation are the key. Until next time, always keep your feet on the trail.